Did you all hear, this is everywhere, about this insane plot to kidnap, I'm being real here, the governor of Michigan? The FBI stopped it, thank God, but here's the story. 13 men were arrested. They were all members of two militia groups, and again, I want to talk about that word after this, who were allegedly preparing to kidnap and possibly kill Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and even bring bombs to the Capitol to spark a civil war. Do you guys remember back in April when a large group of armed men stormed the Michigan Capitol? Remember that? Well, two of the suspects were seen in photos from that day. Here's what Whitmer told GMA.
This was a very serious, thought-out plot to kill police officers, to bomb our Capitol, killing press and Democrats and Republicans alike, and to kidnap and ultimately put me on trial and kill me as well. These are the types of things you hear from groups like ISIS. This is not a militia. It is a domestic terror organization.
So I want to talk about that word. What does this mean? Where we're headed? But I do want to say, anytime I say militia, you might want to correct yourself and say domestic terrorism and know that it's the biggest threat we have right now in the United States. I went to Michigan. I was very aware, University of Michigan, of a lot of militias and anarchists in Michigan, but I never thought we'd get to a point where it almost happened. Al, what do you think?
Going back to that word, Tori, why is a militia, but the Bloods and Crips are a gang? I don't understand that. I would make the argument that at least with the Bloods and the Crips, with the mafia, the Italian, it's organized and it's a profit-based motive. You know, so when there are killings, it is usually over territory, over business. Whether you agree with that or not, that's just their own separate thing. These are people that have showed up armed to the teeth in broad daylight, been called militia, which gives them, they didn't pick that word out of a hat, that gives them, it makes you think maybe like paramilitary. These are just dudes with guns that are just rolled up in the State House and no one said anything, Brandon. So you know, the fact that we're here because this went unchecked, Dylan Roof, because this went unchecked, Stephen Paddock. Do you even hear, does anybody know who Stephen Paddock is, the Vegas shooter? Why don't we hear their name? Brandon, do you think anybody really knows it could put Dylan Roof's face with his name? Why is it that certain people's images are shoved down our throats and we had one of the greatest mass shootings in American history, and I would say 80% of Americans don't know who Stephen Paddock is?
Brandon?
You know why, Al? Because people, I think the American people are trying to put a mask on the biggest problem or the biggest threat that we have domestically here in America. And it's like, I don't understand how people can be pro-American. You can be a patriot and you can be pro-law enforcement, but you will not condemn people who are trying to go in and kidnap a governor, who are trying to actively kill law enforcement and citizens. Because look, if you're pro-blue, guess who has to run to the roar to go save this woman's life, this governor's life?
Well said.
Guess who has mothers or brothers or sisters as civilians that can get caught in the crossfire? Americans, we need to wake up and realize that this domestic terrorism, white supremacy, it's not militias. This white supremacy is a threat to all of us.
That's very well said. I thought both of you brought up great points. You guys are writing in like Matt, a lot of you from Michigan. Yolanda just writes unchecked. And I think that's such a good word because the consequences weren't there in the first place, so you push it a little further every time.
Exactly.
Let us know if you're from Michigan. We'd love to hear a first-person account as well if you're in that state.